It's your boy Illuminati. Today is June the 21st, 2020, and let's get right into it. Today is not going to be like my previous videos, which I've taken a huge hiatus from. So I guess this is just a restart, but it's probably going to be one of my most important videos I've ever made because I think the message in this, regardless of where you are in your life, I think is the most important message I could possibly put out there. And I really felt compelled today to make this video. I haven't made a video in a long time. And I really think that it will be the most beneficial thing that you have heard. You probably already done it. You probably already know about it. But I think if you hear me through what I will be talking about today and you connect the dots in the manner that I'm presenting them, I think you will see that the end is inevitable of the point that I'm trying to make, and there is a solution, and the solution is also one that is inevitable, meaning whoever adopts the solution first will be the winner. To the winner goes the spoils, I believe, is a saying, and I think we are in that phase right now that there is an opportunity for everyone, no matter where they are in their life, to really restart, really get a leap ahead from where they currently are to where they could be in the future with what I'm going to present. So let me break it down a little bit. Have a bit of patience. Let me just describe what you're seeing right now. So, because I knew I was going to be talking for a while, and I just didn't want the background to be a blank screen, I kind of just found this is apparently supposed to be a black hole, but it kind of reminded me of the stellar symbol. So I thought might as well kind of have this just kind of in the background. Anyways, now to get into what the video is about today, it's about what I see really what I really see happening, and what I'm noticing occurring around the whole world. Wherever you are, I'm sure you could relate to what I'm about to say right now, and I feel this is a pivotal moment in time for anyone that's listening to this. And so I would really encourage you also to share this with, share this on your Facebook, share this on your Twitter, share this on every social media platform, because what I'm going to say is going to relate to anyone and everyone that hears it. I guarantee you. And what I'm noticing, and what I'm sure you're also noticing, whether you consciously think about it or now when I mention it, you'll recognize it, is that 2020 and the current events of 2020 right now that we're experiencing, it almost feels like we are in a reset as a whole. And what I mean by that, as in COVID-19 has affected the whole globe, and that phenomenon, this pandemic, has really caused the world to kind of stop and reflect. No matter who you are and which socioeconomic class, you all had to pay attention to this event that's gripped the whole world. That's one current event that's gripped the whole world. Another one, which might not seem like a pandemic, but is occurring in the background, and I would consider it to be a bigger pandemic, or maybe I call it the silent pandemic, that most of you that are watching and watching this and listening to this might not even be aware of that it is being inflicted upon you, but you are currently experiencing this second pandemic as well, and there is a solution to it. And now that you're going to be aware about it, you should take some time to think about the effects of it, and how it could impact not only your life but the lives of loved ones going forward. And And this second silent pandemic is what I wanted to make this video about, because I really feel if we take actions in our own lives to address this issue collectively, we will make a bigger difference than depending on any outside entity to make a difference in our lives. Meaning, if we exercise our individual power to address this silent pandemic that I'm about to talk about, I feel that it will have the most profound effect globally and really make a change for the better in all aspects of one's life, no matter which socioeconomic class you're in. And so the silent pandemic that I'm referring to is the pandemic of censorship. Now, I don't know how many of you were looking at my screen to kind of see the tabs and where it's headed, but the censorship pandemic has been slowly creeping, and it's there all over. And you know, to give you an example, you might think censorship doesn't affect you. It's not really something that you have to bother about, and you're not really concerned about it. But I can promise you, it is going to be the biggest factor in your life. It will literally affect the way you think, the way you go about your day, what you say to people, who you talk to, and it will consume your life if it goes unchecked. And that is the biggest pandemic that's slowly and subconsciously, to some, but it's very much in the forefront to others like myself, that I feel that it is so important that you take some time to just think about how censorship is now becoming more prevalent in your day-to-day activities, in the information that you consume, and therefore the thoughts that you have and the actions you take. Because with censorship comes control, right? Because those who are censoring therefore have control over information. And if your access to information is censored, then your ability to analyze all points of perspective, to be able to think critically, to really have freedom of thought is compromised. And the effect of that is more powerful to each individual's life than any virus, any tax reform. It's the crux of society, freedom, right? And so if you have censorship, you don't have freedom. And if you don't have freedom, society collapses. I mean, I'm talking about a free society collapses. And so I really urge you to kind of just go along with me on this conversation that I'm having with you all, and just reflect on it, and I'm positive you will recognize where censorship has started to creep into your life and into your thoughts, and how you'll be able to foresee that if it goes unchecked, if it goes uncontrolled, where that could really affect your life going forward. And there is a solution to it. At least I think there is a solution to it. There's probably many others, but I will present one solution, and then kind of leave it at that. So first, to kind of talk about censorship and why it's a big deal, I just Googled censorship, just the word censorship, and I just went to news, and you'll see there's, if you're just looking at the first topic that comes up, it's Trump versus Twitter, the debate over free speech, censorship, and social media, right? But it goes beyond that. It goes down to monuments Is it a form of censorship? Is tearing it down make sense, right? And then it goes to the effect of big tech on what people can say and cannot say. So Google's effect on it. YouTube censoring testimony of a former transgender because they call it hate speech. Now this is really interesting, right? So this is an individual who was transgender and then I guess was having a a reflective moment on that experience, and maybe it wasn't it wasn't it wasn't a conversation that was favorable to the transgender community. However, he or she was a participant in that community for some time. I haven't opened it up. I'm just going off the title here, but it says that YouTube censored it because it's hate speech. So you have to think about that, right? How can a private organization determine if or determine what content is acceptable and not acceptable? Doesn't that take it from it being a platform to it being a publisher, right? And then if it's a publisher, then it has to be held liable for the opinions it publishes, right? A platform, you have to think about something similar to back in the day of an open square. I'm talking about way back in the day, where people used to just get up in front of a crowd and just start belching out their opinions, and that's a platform. That is freedom because anyone could get in front of people and talk, and if what they had to say made sense, people gathered around them and listened to it and formed their own opinions and kind of had a debate, and if not, they just kept on moving, right? But if only certain people are allowed to go up and talk and others are not, then you're censoring, and then you're no longer a platform, you're a publisher, right? And there's more, we can just continue going down. It's talking about a senator trying to introduce a bill to restrict the control of big tech companies over censorship. There's now, because of the whole a kind of movement on removing any connotations of slavery. There's been an attack on previous movies like Gone with the Wind, Cops, and certain people are having issues with that. And you have to think about it. In the moment when there is a political movement or any sort of movement that captures the masses, do they have authority to implement their perspective on information and have information curated in a manner that's appeasing to them only versus the rest? Or should we be in a society where opposing views and opposing content are all given the same light, and people are entrusted on using critical thinking to decide which should be considered appropriate and which should be understood as being derogatory, and give people that opportunity to develop that skill to recognize each? Because if you have tech or if you have organizations making those decisions for you, how can you practice it, right? How can you develop those critical thinking skills? Things you're not allowed to say. Lowlights of the new censorship. An article in the New York Post that was posted 2 weeks ago, I think, reflecting on Drew Brees and his situation. Chinese censorship. And just Chinese law to defend censorship of human rights activists. So there's a whole bunch of things regarding censorship, and it's affecting all corners of the globe, not just North America. It affects people's lives everywhere, and I think 2020 really brings censorship to the forefront. It has become a very hot topic. And I think really the biggest topic of the year and going forward, I think it'll be censorship that determines the quality of life for people going forward. And so, in regards to information, why is censorship important? Because at least online, all information it is is basically vying for um, revenue, right? Content creators are creating their content to push their message, but also they want revenue from it in order to further push their message, or at least to survive, whether it be content that's for entertainment or content that's for a purpose, like with a positive message or not, right? And this revenue comes from advertisers, and these platforms are being pushed by certain groups of people to moderate content because they don't like certain content, since they don't want the platform to benefit from content that they don't like, right? And so these platforms such as YouTube, Google, Twitter, Facebook are all appeasing to certain groups in order to keep the ad revenue away from content that they don't feel is appropriate. And where that becomes a problem is, again, they're becoming the guardians of what's right and wrong. And anytime you give a central authority, anytime you make an authority a central authority, basically, if power is not decentralized, then it can easily corrupt. You know, that old saying, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And so that's what I feel is the most important thing to um, focus on. Who has the power to censor, and what can we do to liberate ourselves from this power as content creators, as content consumers, and just people interested in the truth? How can we ensure that truth is always allowed to be presented, and that we always have access to it? So to me, the biggest thing is we had to look at ad revenue, right? And how does ad revenue currently work? You know, Google clearly has the biggest, I think, foothold on it, and people use their ad revenue for their websites. And if there's anything that threatens it, they have to bow to it, you know, if they want to kind of financially stay relevant, right? And so what's the other option? Well, the other option is decentralized social media. And this article came out on January 18, 2020, and it just kind of presented some other avenues of decentralized Mastodon. Now, I don't have an account in any of these networks yet. Peepit, Minds, Inrupt, and I think Twitter's trying to create a decentralized platform as well, which they haven't yet, but that's something that they're working towards. Now, decentralization is key because in a truly decentralized platform, content and information is not controlled. It's like how the internet was back in the day. If you were trying to find information and you knew what you were looking for, you would find information on it if it existed. And if it didn't exist, then that's that. But it wouldn't be a situation where it existed and you did not have access to it because it was blocked. That in the old internet before censorship was, if the information was out there and you were searching for it, you would have access to it, right? Now, in a decentralized platform, that is what is going to be available moving forward. And I also believe that is the future. I believe whoever can create a product that is decentralized in any industry is going to get massive adoption, because people don't want others to control their information. They don't want access to information, at least. And so currently with ad revenue and for content creators and for consumers, what I see as the opportunity, because I'm just going to use this as an example, but you don't have to kind of think about it as it being only this issue. In a different country, it could be a different issue. But in America, at least, the most prominent companies, social media companies, are left leaning, meaning Facebook, Google, Twitter. It is openly known, YouTube, they have left leaning executives and left leaning teams, and their censorship is left bias. They cater to the viewpoints of the left, right? And so the right, people on the right, they feel neglected. They feel their perspectives are not being shared enough, and they often have to cave to the left in order to survive. But they don't. And this is the crux of it. This is where if you've listened to this point so far, here's what you've been waiting for. Here's what I'm trying to get to. Here's what I think is going to revolutionize the future. And whoever jumps on this, whether it be the right or the left, because it's open to anyone, I think they will hold the future. And that is, you follow the money, right? Meaning whoever controls the money controls the outcome. And so if you have an opportunity to take that control of that money away, then you need to ensure that your group or the people that listen to your content or consume your content, that they are on that platform, the platform that doesn't have anyone controlling the money. And what I mean by that is, currently you have Google ad revenue, and all revenue is centralized. You need to be able to get to a decentralized payment network. Now, I'm going to mention one, and full disclosure, obviously, my name is Illuminati, so clearly I'm a big proponent of Stellar and a big fan of Stellar. However, if you don't know about it, you should, at least there's some good video courses on Luminance.com. You can quickly find out what is Stellar about, its network. And here is the biggest thing: assets and anchors. And here's why I think Stellar is positioned to address this problem of censorship the best, better than any other network out there. And I really think if content creators move away from ad revenue and go direct to consumer, direct to their audience, and say in a Patreon type of manner, say, hey, support us with your clicks, support us with your views, set up an account on this network. We have a mechanism of micropayments per view, per interaction, for so many cents, which can equate to what it would be like to get ad revenue from a big entity. I'm sure you could work the numbers out in that manner, and I think that is going to be the most important thing in going forward. The industry, or not the industry, the group of people who capitalize on this, who capitalize on moving their audience, encouraging their followers, their community to come onto this network, they will liberate themselves from the control of these other institutions. They will liberate themselves from any pressure to cave into the demands of the Googles, the YouTubes, the Twitters. They will have full access to the fruits of their labor. If their content is good and their consumers like it, they can directly get the benefits, the monetary benefits, and it's decentralized. So there's no one that can control it. There's no one that can say, no, you can't get paid for that information. If the consumer wants to pay you for it and they click on it, then it's yours, right? And now, the common concern is, well, how do I know I can get this value that I want to get in a form that actually I can use in real life? Meaning, Stellar is a cryptocurrency. How can I get value from a cryptocurrency to whatever I consider value in my life? So for some people that's fiat, for some people that's gold maybe, but how can I get that? Well, Stellar is a network, right? You have to think of it like a protocol. So all Stellar is, it's the back end. It's it's the internet, but for money, right? And so it has anchors and assets and anchors. You should really watch this video. How currently it has anchors in North America, so for the USD. It has it in South America, so for Argentina pesos and Brazilian reals. It has anchors in Europe, for the euro. It has anchors in Nigeria for the Nigerian currency. It has anchors in, I believe, Australia as well. I could be wrong about that, but I believe it's there in Australia. And there are more coming online for the everyday retail consumer. Now, this is just for retail. I believe business end, WorldWire by IBM has anchors, more anchors than I've stated for the business solutions. But just for the everyday consumer, I believe these are the current anchors, and there's more that are coming out this year. So if you are a content creator in any of these continents, you can definitely get these clicks converted into a value that of your preference, and you can benefit from it. So that aspect is taken care of, and there are wallets right now that can, like, such as Anchor USD, that you can really use as a bank account. I mean, you could convert whichever currency you have into whichever token or value that you consider valuable, such as USD, and you can get up to 8%, which is better than any bank that's offering right now. And this is what I kind of wanted to touch upon, is that you really have to think about how censorship is affecting your life. Right now, it might not seem like it's a big deal. And I would, if I had to kind of convey in terms of a pandemic that we are currently experiencing, like the COVID-19, I'd say this is the first week of that virus being exposed to a community, right? It's not affecting the world. So I'd say right now you are in the first week of censorship, of the censorship pandemic, meaning there's some people that it's affecting. There's some people around the world that are being affected by censorship, but it's not a big deal for everyone right now, right? But I promise you, especially now because of how powerful these companies are, it will build up very quickly. And before you know it, your perspectives are shaped without you even having the ability to think for yourselves. The opinions that you should have will be fed to you, and it will be fed to you in a manner that has been studied, because they'll probably use a lot of research on how to present such opinions to you that psychologically make it very easy for you to agree to it and to adopt it, and really becomes a form of social conditioning. So I truly believe the only way to disrupt that is to have power over your right to publish, right? So if you want to publish some content, you want to publish some ideas, you should be able to publish it without fear of censorship, and it be that, right? And so I really think that the way to do that is to ensure that if this is your livelihood, if creating content is your livelihood, that you are able to make a living off of it in a decentralized manner, that no one can take it from you. And so an option like Stellar presents itself. I'm sure there's other things there. I'm sure there's other networks that I don't know enough about. Now, most people I know are most likely want to say, why not just get Bitcoin, which you can, yes. Does it transfer value as quickly as Stellar? No. Do people consider micropayments with it? No. I'm not. Is it easy as Stellar? No. I think Stellar is so easy. I mean, you can set up an account, your online wallet within seconds. You can upload value in terms of fiat, converting fiat into a token in seconds, and then you're off. You can send it to people in seconds, and they can receive it in seconds. I mean, it is the future, and I think whichever group of people decide to capture this as well, um, sooner than later, will have the experience of being independent first. Will have the experience of being free from censorship first, and their message will have a head start in thriving in the future societies. And so I implore you to spread this message on all social media platforms. It's not the most common video for people to share because it is a long one. I think this is going on 30 minutes. Yes, just under 30 minutes. And it's a long one, but I think it's probably the most important video I've ever made, more important than any charts that I have talked about, any technical analysis, because I really do believe that this is the biggest pandemic that we are going to be facing, censorship, and we have a cure, at least financially, because if you follow the money trail, you could really find the answers to a lot of the problems. And so if you are free from financial restriction and you have freedom in that aspect, then I think you can at least kind of control your access to information, and that allows you to think critically about what you're listening to. Even this video, you can at least hear it and come up for yourself whether you agree or not. But I'm very encouraged by the research I've done and what I'm seeing, to know that whether you agree with me completely, whether this is a big deal or not, you will at least agree that there is censorship occurring, and that it has extended pretty quickly in the last, I'd say, year at least. Definitely in the last few months, censorship has really picked up quickly around the world, and this is something that we all need to kind of think about and prepare ourselves for it. So prepare in sense of preparing ourselves to overcome it. And I think, as any content creators out there, any groups of people that need to be free from the burdens of big tech silencing their message because it doesn't go with their ideologies, start becoming as decentralized as possible. Yeah, so I'm not affiliated with anyone. I don't have any preferences to any political party, left or right. I am really not concerned about any one particular view. I just feel that people should develop the ability to be critical thinkers and assess views from both sides on any topic, and then come to a conclusion and be able to present why they feel that conclusion is accurate or correct. And then, if they are interested in debate, and then hear the debate, or if not, just peacefully, I guess, agree to disagree. But I really think that it's important for society going forward, for the future generations, to have access to information. As I can't even imagine, if I only grew up knowing one side of a story, how different my life would be right now. I've always asked why. I've always asked, well, what does the other side have to say about it? And I've always been curious, and I can honestly say that now, if censorship continues the way it's going, I don't think I'd have access to a lot of information, or even feel comfortable asking a lot of the questions that I was comfortable asking as a child growing up. And I think that limitation is not going to be healthy. It's gonna lead to policies, and it will be the slippery slope that leads to terrible outcomes for civilizations and societies. So something as benign as just you know something that seems limited to just a few companies and their platforms right now, I think can really affect the whole world if it's not addressed by the masses right now, personally in their own lives, by controlling the power of the value that they bring to these platforms. Meaning, each member of these platforms, the value they bring is the interaction value, right? Like when you go on any of these platforms, your clicks on videos are views, and that creates value for the content creators and for the platform, right? Because of the ads that they play on it. Your interaction on those platforms is the value. Now, if you control your own value, meaning you're on an interface where you decide who gets any value from your interaction through micropayments, and those micropayments are very specific to each individual, and they have the freedom to give that value or not, then you're not giving those platforms the value. You're controlling your own value. And things like Stellar, and they have solutions like Satoshi Pay, which is excellent for micropayments. They have that technology to provide that freedom, and and that's what it comes down to: stellar freedom. I think if there's one message for people going forward, is everyone should have stellar freedom in their lives, and kind of benefit from it. All right, so that's my 2 cents, which was a little bit longer than I expected it to be, but hopefully it's coherent, and I hope you all share this message, and thank you for listening.